everybody and welcome to IELTS Live Thursday. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about vocabulary. So if vocabulary for your IELTS is something that you are concerned about or want to know more about, then you should watch this short live video. Recently, I've noticed a lot of comments and people asking me questions as well about how to improve vocabulary. Now, English vocabulary is quite a huge thing. There are over 170,000 words, and the Oxford Dictionary, I think, runs to 20 volumes. So clearly, you're not going to be able to learn every word in English. And indeed, you know, I'm quite surprised at how many new words I come across, and I'm dealing with English all day, every day. So the question is where to begin with learning and expanding your vocabulary. Because as you know, one of the things that improves your score is your ability to demonstrate a wide range of vocabulary in both your speaking and your writing. And also, in order to understand the reading and to maybe a lesser extent the listening, you need to have a good knowledge of vocabulary. So I put a post in this, in fact I put two posts, they were reposted from earlier posts I'd done about vocabulary. So the first thing you could do is to scroll down underneath the video and find those two posts, and both of them give you tips and advice on how to improve your vocabulary, and in some very simple ways that you can do kind of while you're on the go. So the first thing to do is to look for those posts, read them carefully, and use some of the techniques that I suggest. Secondly, IELTS reading is a good source of vocabulary generally for your English, but also for your reading, your IELTS reading, because the topics in IELTS reading do come back again and again. So if you've learned those words, then you'll find that the next time you get a reading passage on that particular topic, you'll already have some of the vocabulary under your belt. So for example, if you're talking about animals, if it's a reading on animals, you'll find words like carnivore, herbivore, omnivore, habitat, prey. All of these kinds of words will come up in most every passage about animals. So if you learn the words that you maybe don't understand the first time, then they'll be useful for you when you come up with a second passage in that topic. Now, that doesn't mean look up every single word. That's very boring, and it will really stop you trying to understand it properly. So only look up words that really stop you from understanding or stop you from answering the questions. Look up those words and find out what they mean, and they will help you with your reading development, but they'll also help you with other passages that you come across, and some of them may be helpful in your writing as well. So that's the second thing to do. And then the third thing is to read. Reading will help your vocabulary because you'll come across words a lot, and if you come across words several times, then you'll know that that's a word that's in common usage, and it's one that you're probably going to see in the reading and you might be able to use in your writing. So read anything and everything. Read what you enjoy reading. So that might be blog posts, it might be magazine articles, it might be journals to do with your field or your profession. It might be just stuff on Facebook, but do be careful because not everything is well written there. It's better to stick with things that are done by professional authors so that you know that it's going to be the right kind of reading and the right kind of vocabulary for your IELTS exam. But things like graphic novels are quite fun. And I would just read anything at all that you enjoy and just make sure it's well written. So anything from a good website should be well written and useful. But, and this is my final point, about what to do. If you learn new words, you won't remember them unless you use them. So the important thing is once you've learnt a new word, try and use it straight away. So try and use it in your speaking if you can. Put it into a sentence the next time you're practicing speaking or you're speaking to somebody. Or put it into your writing. So if you're writing some of the IELTS tasks, try and include that word, if it's appropriate, in your next piece of writing. Now, if you have a teacher to check it, then they will tell you whether you've used it correctly. If you haven't, then find somewhere that you can post that writing online in a group or a free forum so that people can check it for you and give you advice. So, read my posts that I just posted, I think it was yesterday. Look up words in the IELTS reading passages that are stopping you from understanding or stopping you from answering the questions, and try and find out what they mean. Read as much as you can, even if you spend 10 minutes a day reading an article or a blog post, do that regularly. And then finally, try and use the words that you've learned so that you don't forget them. And if you're trying to improve your vocabulary for IELTS reading, then it's important to not just use the reading as a test, but use it as an exercise to understand. And then look up those words and see if that helps you to figure out the answer. If you're trying to do it for IELTS writing, then you need to get feedback on whether you've used the language appropriately. But you don't need a lot of vocabulary for your writing. You really don't. If you have a good bank of different parts of vocabulary that you can use in any task, then just keep reusing and reusing and reusing, so that when you get into the exam, you've almost got the vocabulary that you're going to use in your tasks. Now, I don't mean the topic words here particularly. I mean other words, you know, like linking words, like gerunds, like adverbs and adjectives that you can use in almost any kind of task 2 or task 1. And if you keep using them over and over, then you won't forget them. And when it comes to the exam, you'll know exactly which words are going to be useful for that particular task. And if you are looking to expand your vocabulary for speaking, then the very best way of doing that is to practice. So the more you practice, the more vocabulary you'll be able to incorporate into your speaking. And when you come to the exam, you won't be fishing around for words. They'll just come automatically into your mind as you do the speaking exam. So I hope that's helpful on vocabulary. All of these things, of course, can be a part of your preparation, and it's important that you manage all of them. So you have time for your different skills, reading, writing, listening and speaking. You have time to improve your grammar. You have time to improve your vocabulary. And if you need help pulling all that together, then I'd love to speak to you. So if you want to speak to me about your IELTS and how to incorporate all of those factors, all of those parts of English that you need for the exam into your plan that you do every day, every week, every month, then we can talk about how to do that. So send me a personal message and I'll reach out to you and we can fix up a time to talk about this, or I'll put a link where you can book a slot on my timetable, and then we can discuss your IELTS, where you are, where you want to be, and how to get there. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week again in IELTS Live Thursday. Bye bye everybody.